Hello, and welcome to this week's Bible Topics discussion. We're glad you're with us today as we talk about God's miraculous power. Somehow, we're keeping this to around 5 minutes or so as usual, but it's only because of God's miraculous power. This topic could go on for hours. His power is unending.
That's certainly true. The first time we're introduced to God's miraculous power is in creation. All through the first chapter of the book of Genesis, we see God speaking things into being. Genesis chapter 1 verse 3 says, "Then God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." The whole chapter continues a series of things that God simply spoke into existence.
Here's a favorite, the parting of the Red Sea. This is told in Exodus chapter 14. The Lord parts the Red Sea, and the Egyptian soldiers gallop through it, only to have the waters close in over them and kill them. The chapter ends with this encouraging word to the Israelites in Exodus chapter 14, verses 30 through 31. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. When Israel saw the great power which the Lord had used against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord. And they believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. If you will read the complete account of the parting of the Red Sea, you'll see that it says that the Israelites crossed the sea on dry land. God didn't just part the water, he made the land dry so that the Israelites could walk on it without miring up.
Then there's the story of Jesus raising a man to life. This is in Luke chapter 7, verses 11 through 15. Soon afterwards he went to a city called Nain, and his disciples were going along with him, accompanied by a large crowd. Now as he approached the gate of the city, a dead man was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. And a sizable crowd from the city was with her. When the Lord saw her, he felt compassion for her, and said to her, "Do not weep." And he came up and touched the coffin, and the bearers came to a halt. And he said, "Young man, I say to you, arise." The dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. When I read this one, I usually think how compassionate Jesus was to give her son back to her, because did you notice that it says he was her only son and her husband was already dead? She needed him to help her live. Her husband was gone and her son was gone. It was going to be a hard life for her without someone to do the heavy lifting, so to speak.
This is a long one, and we won't read it here. You can read it for yourself, but it's John chapter 11, verses 1 through 44, which tells the story of Lazarus being raised from the dead. Lazarus died. They buried him, and Jesus came to see his family later. His sisters, Mary and Martha, thought that if Jesus had only been there, Lazarus wouldn't have died. I'm sure that's true. Jesus would just have spoken or touched him or moved in some other way as he had in earlier situations, and Lazarus would have been healed on the spot. But raising someone from the dead who had been buried for 4 days would be quite a feat. Jesus knew that if he waited until the man had been buried for several days, it just might have a greater impact on the unbelievers.
There are lots of other occurrences of God's miraculous power throughout the Bible, Old and New Testaments. He never runs out of it. Why would we want to serve a God who isn't all-powerful?
Amen.
Well, that's it for this week. Please like, comment, and share, and let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to hear from you.
See you next week. Be blessed.